Mr. Ryan, Anna Grace, thank you, ma'am, reading story. So, quickly, I'm going to go over the text. Let's look and see if there's anything that we can use to kind of predict what's going to happen. So, this is thank you, ma'am. A phrase slung across her shoulder. That's slinging. That's what that looks like, slung across the shoulder. Do it at home if you want to figure it out. Permit him to stoop and pick up her purse. So, stoop, kind of go down and pick up the purse. Okay. Any other words? Kitchenette, large kitchenette, something that's in the kitchen. That's about it. This is a pretty good story, and we're going to dig into it now. It's called Thank You, Ma'am. She was a large woman with a large purse and had everything in it but a hammer and nails. It had a long strap, and as she carried it slung across her shoulder. It was about 11 o'clock at night, and she was walking alone when a boy ran up behind her and tried to snatch her purse. The strap broke with a single tug. The boy gave it from behind. But the boy's weight and the weight of the purse combined caused him to lose his balance. So instead of taking off full blast as he hoped, the boy fell on his back on the sidewalk and his legs flew up. The large woman simply turned around, kicked him right square in his blue jean sitter. Then she reached down, picked the boy up by his shirt, and shook him until his teeth rattled. So when she said they fell in his center, I think that's his fanny. And then she picked him up and shook him, and his teeth rattled. She shook him pretty hard. After that, the woman said, "Pick up my pocketbook, boy, and give it here." She still held him, but she bent down enough to prevent him to stoop and pick up her purse. Then she said, "Now ain't you ashamed of yourself?" Finally, firmly gripped by the front, the boy said, "Yes." The woman said, "What do you want it to do it for?" The boy said, "I didn't aim to." She said, "You a lie." By that time, two or three people passed, stopped to look, and some stood watching. "If you turn you loose, you will run?" asked the woman. "Yes," said the boy. "Then I won't turn you loose," said the woman. She did not release him. "I'm very sorry, lady, very sorry," whispered the boy. Your face is dirty. I got a great mind to wash your face for you. Ain't you got nobody to tell you to wash your face?" "No, ma'am," said the boy. "Then it'll get washed this evening," said the large woman, staring up the street, dragging the frightened boy behind. He looked at her as if he was 14 or 15, frail and willow wild, in tennis shoes and blue jeans. Frail, very skinny. The woman said, "You ought to be my son. I could teach you right from wrong. Least I could do right now is wash your face. Are you hungry?" "No, ma'am," said the boy, being dragged. "I just wanted you to turn me loose." "Was I bothering you when I turned that corner?" asked the woman. "No, ma'am." "But when you put yourself in contact with me," said the woman, "if you think that contact is not going to last a while, you got another thought coming. When I get through with you, sir, you're going to remember Miss Luella Bates Washington Jones." Sweat popped out of the boy's face and he began to struggle. Miss Jones stopped, jerked him around in front of her, put a half Nelson around his neck so he had him like that, and continued to drag him up the street. When she got to the door, she dragged the boy inside, down the hall, and into a large kitchenette furnished room at the rear of the house. She switched on the light and left the door open. The boy could hear other roomers laughing and talking in a large house. Some of the doors were open, too, so she knew he and the woman were not alone. The woman still had him by his neck in the middle of the room. "So what's your name?" "Roger," answered the boy. "Then, Roger, you go to that sink. You wash your face," said the woman, whereupon she turned him loose. At last, Roger looked at the door, looked at the woman, looked at the door, and went to the sink. "Let the water run until it gets warm. Here's a clean towel." "You gonna take me to jail?" asked the boy. "Not with that face. I wouldn't take you nowhere," said the woman. "Here I am trying to get home to cook me a bite to eat, and you snatch my pocketbook. Maybe you ain't been to your supper either. Have you?" "There's nobody at my house," said the boy. "Then we'll eat. I believe you're hungry or been hungry to try to snatch my pocketbook." "I wanted a pair of blue suede shoes," said the boy. "Well, you didn't have to snatch my pocketbook. You could have asked me, ma'am." The water dripping from his face, the boy looked at her. There was a long pause, a very long pause. After he dried his face, not knowing what else to do again, the boy turned around, wondering what next. The door opened. He could make a dash for it down the hall. He could run, run, run. The woman was sitting at the edge of the bed. After a while, she said, "I were young once, and I wanted things I could not get." Then there was a long pause. The boy's mouth opened. Then he frowned, but not knowing he frowned. The woman said, You thought I was going to say it, didn't you? She thought I was going to say, but I didn't snatch other people's pocketbooks. Well, I wasn't going to say that. Pause. There was silence. I have done things too, which I could not tell you, son. Neither tell God if you didn't know already. So, you sit down for a while. I'll fix us something to eat. You might run that comb through your hair so you'll look presentable. Another corner room behind the screen was a glass plate and an icebox. Miss Jones got up and went behind the screen. The woman did not watch the boy to see if he was going to run now, nor did she watch her purse she left behind on the day bed. But the boy took care to sit at the far side of the room where he thought he could easily see him out of the corner of her eye. She wanted to, but now don't trust the woman, not to trust him. And he did not want to be mistrusted now. Do you need somebody to go to the store? Asked the boy. Maybe to go get some milk or something? Don't believe I do, said the woman. Unless you want sweet milk yourself, I'm going to make cocoa out of the canned milk I got here. That'll be fine, said the boy. He heated some lima beans and ham she had in the icebox, made the cocoa and set the table. The women did not ask the boy anything about where he lived or his folks or anything else that would embarrass him. Instead, as they ate, she told him about her job in a hotel beauty shop that stayed open late, what the work was like, and how all kinds of women come in and out, blondes, redheads, and Spanish. Then she cut him half of her 10-cent cake. Eat some more, son, she said. When they finished eating, she got up. Now take this $10 and buy some blue suede shoes. And the next time, do not make a mistake of latching onto my pocketbook nor anybody else's, because shoes got by devilish ways will burn your feet. I got to go get my rest now, but I wish you would behave yourself, son, from here on. She led him down the street to the front door and opened it. Good night. Behave yourself, boy, she said, looking into the street. The boy wanted to say something else other than thank you, ma'am, to Mrs. Luella Bates Washington Jones, but he couldn't do so as he turned the barren stoop and looked back at the large woman in the door. He barely managed to say thank you before she shut the door, and he never saw her again. Think about what that story is. Think about what message it's sending. Think about the characters. Think about the setting. This is a great story. I really love it. I love the message in this story. So here's a quick poem that adds to it. It's called Mother to Son. Well, son, I'll tell you, life for me ain't made no crystal stair. It had tacks in it and splinters and boards torn up in places with no carpet on the floor. Bare. But all the time I've been climbing on and reaching landings and turning corners, and something's going in the dark where there ain't been no light. So, boy, don't you turn back. Don't you sit down on the steps, 'cause you finds it's kind of hard. Don't fall now, for eyes are going to go, honey. I'm still climbing, and life for me ain't been no crystal stair. This, I think, what's the theme, what's the message here? It's pretty awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you for reading these. Thank you for being a part of this program. Keep going. Go on to grace.